Hi guys, so I'm already here in Texas, in Houston. For 1 week, I'm going to explore a few tourist spots here with my high school classmates. I arrived yesterday and my host, Sherry Grace, fetched me at the airport yesterday afternoon and then we went straight to Ninfas, a Tex-Mex restaurant where I got to experience for the first time authentic Tex-Mex food. It's delicious, guys. Then she brought me to Montrose. It's this hipster neighborhood where we had coffee at Agora. So join me in this week-long trip to Texas where our first stop is the seaside city of Galveston. Hi guys, so we're already in Galveston and our first stop is this famous stretch of seawall. So I heard Galveston is the nearest beach to Houston, so every summer locals come here to swim and experience beach. But right now, since it's spring, the weather's kinda chilly, so most of the people I see here are just walking and strolling and really just enjoying the view. We're now going to take brunch in that restaurant behind me. It's called Pier, and it's been here since 1976. So this is the fried chicken steak. This is their biscuit. And what did you order, Chags?
Ham, hash brown, and scrambled eggs, and you have the grits.
So I'm already halfway done eating this fried chicken steak only to find out that this is actually not a chicken. This is beef. They just called it a fried chicken steak because it is cooked like a fried chicken. But that's why it's a steak, because it's beef. So I didn't know that. This is Southern food. So after eating brunch, we're going to Pleasure Pier. It's an amusement park along the seawall. Galveston is the Bishop's Palace. It's an iconic Victorian style house. So if you're an architecture lover, then you should come. So after spending the whole morning in Galveston, We are back in Houston because we are going to the Space Center here in NASA. Hi guys, we're still in the Space Museum and right now we're on a tram tour on the way to Rocket Park.
Rocket Park!
Rocket Park! Rocket Park!
And various partnerships to create what we know as the Longport Project. In fact, it's that Longport that's closest to us right now.
Oh my god. This is a rocket ship, guys. So big. We just finished visiting the Space Museum. It was really an informative and enlightening experience. It's interesting also to see the stories behind the Apollo 13 aborted mission, which was popularized, of course, by the Tom Hanks movie, the Houston We Have a Problem movie. I think it's also entitled Apollo 13. And then I finally saw a rocket ship for the first time in person, and I didn't expect it to be so big. It was like I was reminded of this giant Buddha, sleeping Buddha I saw in Thailand. So it was that big. So I was so amazed. So right now we're headed back to downtown Houston where we're going to meet our high school classmate who drove all the way from McAllen. It's my first time to see Fritz, that's his name. After more than a decade, we used to study together in college in UP Diliman in the Philippines. So and we live in the same dormitory too. So I'm excited to meet him and his family. Fritz! Hi, Fritz! Hi! Bless! Nice meeting you! So we're just spending the rest of the day here in Post Houston. It's a former post office, repurposed and transformed into a food and music hall. We ordered quesadillas, Mexican fries, whatever it's called, margarita pizza from Roberto's, and some hawker chicken
Chicken wing.
and fries. We're now on top of the post. And there's this rooftop garden. It's perfect for taking pictures. Especially now, since there's sunset over there. We were already resting when our friend Tong went to Sherry's house and he's inviting us here in Chinatown. We have a piece of this boba milk. It's Taiwan's number one. Xing Fu Tang. Hi guys, it's day 2 here in Houston and we're going to start the day with a brunch here in Common Bond. That's my high school classmates Fritz and Chegay. We're going to be together for the whole day just exploring Houston. We are now starting our mural tour, our Houston mural tour. Houston is very famous for its public murals, and one of its famous mural is right behind me, this one. So if you go to Heights House Hotel, then you will see this mural and you can take a picture in front of it. So our next mural is a very famous one. I'm sure you've seen this already in a lot of travel vlogs. It's actually here in a neighborhood in Harvard Street, and let me show you the mural I'm talking about. The Greetings from Houston mural. Next on our mural tour is this very popular mural on Instagram. You know what I mean? It's the Houston is Inspired mural. So we are now in downtown Houston on our way to lunch. Blind Goat is actually a casual gastro pub by Christine Ha. She's a famous chef because she's the first blind contestant of the American version of Masterchef, and she is also the winner of season 3 of that show. And of course, needless to say, the food is very delicious. You should try their chicken bao. That's my recommendation. We're now on to our next mural, and it's here in Claiborne Street. And we just arrived in probably the most famous mural spot here in Houston. This is in the corner of St. Emmanuel and Leland Street, and I'm going to show you the murals that are here, okay? on to the next mural, and we found ourselves here in Jensen Drive because of this very unique mural that's being painted on container vans. So after mural hopping, we're now on our way to Bayou Bend Collection and Gardens. It's a famous botanical garden here in Houston, and I'm pretty sure it's also perfect for taking pictures. So we are now crossing this hanging bridge to Bayou Bend.
Earliest gardens at Bayou Bend, finished in 1929 and redesigned 10 years later.
This is the Diana Garden in Bayou Bend. Very picturesque. Look.
In spring, the tree produces beautiful bell-shaped flowers. This tree is believed to have been planted in 1961, shortly after.
So we're now in the middle of our garden tour, and we're about to enter this big old house. This house is an attraction here in the garden because it's the house of an heir of a big oil magnate here in Texas.
How many of y'all?
Three.
Three? Okay, come right on in.
Thank
How you
you.
doing? Good evening.
Good, how are
Good
you?
evening.
Good.
Good
Just
morning.
right next to George, right there to the right.
Yes,
I'll be
sir.
there as soon as y'all get in.
Perhaps Raymond, could tell us the overview of like the house history, perhaps?
Well, the house history was Alma Hogg's house. Her dad was the first native-born governor of Texas, and so she was the oldest girl, and they had all that oil in Texas, and but he was the first-born governor of Texas, and so I think he lost his wife, and so Alma was kind of like traveling along with him, and so that was his oldest daughter, and she outlived everyone. The two brothers passed away, and so when she collected the museum, her and Mrs. Murphy, she got a good friend of her, and so they number everything out, because when she gave the collection to the museum, find out they, in other words, they didn't have no room, so she decided to get a condo. And she was alone, so she got a condo, right? I think somewhere out on San Felipe. And so her and her driver, they'll come around, and so it's been Bayou Bend ever since.
All right.
And it's all nice. I think from the old furniture on up, like the Murphy room is one of the oldest from 16th to 17th century. So that's pretty old to see how you were living in that particular time with good stuff, you know. And people didn't have furniture back into the older time, you know, they just had just one thing, one room, you know what I mean, one big room, and you would eat in that too and all that. But overall, I like this house because it's pretty well surrounded with a lot of stuff that you really don't see. Very seldom you see something like that. You might see a few pieces out, you know, for selling, like maybe for an example, like different states, you know, you see people, and you just don't see it, you know. There was one guy came over and looked, and he makes furniture, and he was thrilled to see the stuff, you know, how it's made, and it's well made. It's made to last.
To cap off our 2 days of exploring Houston, we went to St. Arnold's Brewery for a drink of Houston's best local craft beer. And that wraps up my 2 days in Houston. I spent the rest of the week exploring other parts of Texas, which you're going to see in my future vlogs, so I do hope you subscribe to my channel. But I did go back to Houston before flying out of the state, and I spent more time in Chinatown for some Asian food. And of course, another round of my favorite Xing Fu Tang boba milk tea. Chinatown is Houston's hidden gem, guys. I also went back to Ninfas, a perfect bookend for my Houston trip.